introduce you. You're Alexia Genta, a woman in your own right, and also the daughter of the most famous man ever to live in the watch industry.
Yep.
What's it like? You call yourself a Nepo baby, don't you, or Nepo baby?
I kind of am. I'm here really thanks to the work of my parents. I'm fully aware of it. But what I really want to do is just keep telling my dad's story.
And I mean, what I like about it now is 30 years ago, nobody knew the man's name. And now everybody who's ever walked past it, I once saw him at a distance. I was wearing this watch and I once saw him in an airport. So we were going to launch it. It's designed by Gérald Genta.
Yep.
So you are this is the real deal, aren't you?
I'm so happy that all these brands are talking about Dad. I think that's a great thing. But I just would love it to be always as authentic and truthful as possible, and that's why I'm here.
Well, we're not going to talk about the people who don't do that. We're going to talk about the people who do that. IWC was a nice one, wasn't it?
Yes, they did a beautiful launch of the Ingenieur. They did a beautiful movie.
The movie? Did he look like your father?
Yes, but we chose the actor together.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. No, look, let's get back on the script.
No, that's fine.
No. Your father had been called. I'll pick them at random. So like I said, 20 questions. Gérald Genta once said, "I don't like watches." What did he mean by that? He didn't like watches.
A lot of people think he was just being provocative, but I really think he believed that statement. I mean, Dad always wanted freedom. And for him, watches were these tiny objects that had to work. And to him, that was constraint. What he really loved was painting on a blank canvas. So yeah, he didn't really like watches.
But okay. Now this is a good question. I think you wrote it yourself. Your father's been called a genius, a rebel, and an artist. But who was he really?
To me?
Yes.
To me, he was just my dad. A lot of people ask me if he taught me how to design watches. He did. He bought me this beautiful box of compasses, and the lesson lasted about 10 minutes. Ended in a lot
enough
of
to launch an entire brand.
Yeah, right. And a lot of door slamming. And I think it's true that geniuses can't teach. But what Dad really taught me was to always... Actually, he didn't want me to study. He hated the concept of doing homework or things like that. He would always drag me outside. There was this beautiful garden called the Jardin des Roses in Monaco, which is a garden designed by Prince Rainier for Grace Kelly.
Oh, that's beautiful. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we always would walk around there. It's tiny, tiny garden. And we would spend maybe 3 hours there looking at the shapes of the petals and the thorns and the layout. As a teenager, it may have been a little bit long for me. But I really understand that basically what he was telling me is just look elsewhere, don't do what everybody else is doing, and just get inspiration from your environment.
I mean, what I heard reported, when it sounds true, is that someone said, do blue and green go together? And he said, look at nature, and you see that blue and green go together, you know. And so I think that was a very interesting way to come into making something that is so rectilinear. I mean, the Royal Oak is a milestone achievement in watchmaking history, full stop.
Absolutely.
But it did come from a scaphander that we saw. It was a diving suit, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. It was when he was a child. He was always walking around the Rhône River, and he saw this diver's helmet. And he thought, well, if a human being can trust that this is waterproof, then surely it should work for a watch. And that's where the idea came from.
And you say he was walking around as a young man. Was that when he was a child? He saw this scaphander
Yes.
thing. So, and it stayed in his memory all that time?
I think it was instinct for him. I think he was storing all this information. He wasn't doing research before designing. For him, designing was just instinct. But at the back of his head, he was probably storing everything that he was observing, because when he was looking at something, he was really looking at it. He was paying attention to every little detail, and then it was stuck somewhere in his mind, and then it would come out instinctively.
And but he had a bit of a difficult childhood, didn't he, in Geneva? It wasn't the happiest of times, was it?
No, and I don't think many people know this, that so Dad's father was Italian, and his mom was Swiss. And when he was 8 years old, because of the war, he was exiled, so he was kicked out of Switzerland to move to Italy under Mussolini's regime, which for somebody, okay, he was only 8, but for somebody with, an artistic mindset, couldn't have been the easiest experience. And when he was 14 and he came back, I think it gave him the grit and the determination to make it happen for himself,
Yes.
you know. And maybe if he hadn't had that experience, he would have ended up being just a painter. He could have been a bohemian painter, enjoying his
Because
life.
that early portrait of him, his self-portrait with him with the beard.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
But didn't he throw all his painting equipment in the Lac Le Mans or something like that?
Oh gosh, no! This was when he was working. I forgot for which company. He wasn't happy with the boss, and he threw all of his tools into the lake. And he said, "I will never work for anyone ever again." He was always looking for freedom.
And I mean, did he find it in designing watches, or did he find it in the art, or did it?
He found it in the art more than ever, but he also found it in his own brand. I think at the beginning, obviously, you know, he designed for Universal, for Omega, obviously for Audemars, Patek, etc. So many brands, but really he found his freedom when he started designing for his own brands because there was no briefs to answer.
But I mean, you weren't there at the time, but when they presented the sketches for the Royal Oak, it was quite controversial, wasn't it?
It was very controversial. Many people didn't like it. They thought it was quite crazy and that it wouldn't work. And Dad had an ego, so he definitely did not like it when people judged his work, but it never made him doubt himself. He would always say, "Don't worry, they will catch up."
And because he worked at a lot of brands. He was a stylist, wasn't he? Stylist, they call it, stylist, I don't know. But he worked for, which is why everybody gets so excited now. He worked for Omega, he worked for Universal, he worked for, everybody's crediting him with everything now because he was really productive, wasn't he? He had to work for lots of brands and sell individual designs.
He designed so many designs. In fact, I always have this issue with archives, and so many brands contact us and ask us, did he design Hamilton, for example? Please, if anyone has any information, please contact me. I would love to work together. You know, so there are so many designs that he did, and it's true, you know, there's this number, 100,000 designs is what we estimate. But I've seen him design every morning. By the time I would leave for school around 7:30 in the morning, he would be in full suit with his Hermès tie at his desk, and he would just start designing his watches. Then he would stop at lunchtime, he'd paint. By the time I'd come back from school, there were maybe 5 different watches. I mean, not just evolutions of one model. It was 5 models.
5 brand potential Royal Oaks.
And once he designed it, he never looked back. It wasn't, okay, this is the first version, then I'm going to tweak it. No, it was, that's it. This is the design, move on, next one. So the volume of creativity that he had is just insane.
And so what in the end made him set up a brand? Because he was sort of his own boss, selling his designs and things like that. But what was it that you think prompted him to open put his name above the door?
This is really, we are grateful to his collaboration with Seiko. So he had a close relationship with Mr. Hattori. And back then he was going to, you know, share his designs. And he had these prototypes with no name. And Mr. Hattori said, you know, Mr. Genta, you should put your own name on these prototypes. And he didn't really ever think about it. I think he didn't also, this is the one thing that he wasn't so confident about, actually. He was used to designing for other brands. And it was Mr. Hattori that really pushed him, and he did, and he exhibited it with them as well.
And tell us, the great story about the Montre Bijou when he had the Mickey Mouse watches.
Oh gosh, yes, this is one of the many.
But it's a brilliant story, and
this is a great story. Yes, of course. Well, not many people know that. Actually, I can even mention where the Disney Mickey Mouse watches come from. Some people think it was for me, but I wasn't even born when this watch came out.
Never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
And it's a good story. So it was Michael Eisner who was the CEO and asked for this watch to be done. And then he asked Mike Eisner, you know, please, can we put Mickey Mouse on a small run of watches? So he did. He arrived at this fair. And everybody comes out, all the big watch brands with minute repeaters and very complicated watches. And he comes out with Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck.
Was it Pluto as well, or was Pluto in that? The dog?
Yes, there was Pluto. There was so many different characters.
Everybody came with sort of grand complications, and he turned up with
the cartoons.
Disney. Yeah.
Which today doesn't sound wild because there are so many, but back then that was really controversial. And CEOs of big brands that I was told I'm not allowed to name said, this is embarrassing to the industry. You should not do this. And he said, you know what? Disney put more smiles on people's faces than all of you lot ever did. And then he just closed the briefcases and left.
With true genius as he was, slamming the door behind him, I hope. But also, it wasn't just a one-man band, was it? There's your mother and her involvement in the story, who, by the way, Evelyn Genta, if you haven't met her, is an absolutely wonderful woman and probably the best thing about Monaco.
Yes, Nick is saying this because he knows that she is watching us right
Hello,
now.
Evelyn.
Hi, Mom. Yes, Mom is really an extraordinary character in this story, and not many people know it because she always obviously gave all the limelight to Dad. But if you think about it, this was a woman who was 31 years old, 1981, walks into this fabrique. It's complete chaos. It's in terrible debt. But she gets that her partner, well, he's kind of a genius. Most women, I believe, or most people would actually run away. But she just rolled up her sleeves in an industry that she knew nothing about, that was male-dominated.
How did they meet? They met at dinner, didn't it? It was just something, you got a horrible wristwatch or something like that.
Yes, again, not allowed to share which brand watch that was.
Okay,
but yes, she was sitting at dinner. He was next to her. I believe that this was a friend introducing them, thinking they would get along quite well. And yes, the first thing Dad said to my mom was, "God, your watch is so ugly."
But it's a great chat-up line. It works all the time for me. Sorry, you don't know that.
Mom was so embarrassed that she even removed the watch and left it in her trousers. Then the trousers went into the washing machine, and she was very angry. And then Dad sent her a new Gérald Genta watch, which she was
and
very
they lived
happy
happily
about.
ever after.
Yes.
Well, that's great. That's great. So let's go through the official questions here. Your mother, well, we've talked about your mother, but we talk a bit more about your mother, why not? Crucial role in building this company, and how did their partnership work, the artist and the businesswoman?
But it's this, again, I'm so proud of Mom, because so she was running the business, she was HR, she was a negotiator, she was a salesperson, she was running the entire business, essentially making space for Dad to do what he loved most, which was to create. And she never got involved, because from a business point of view, she probably thought, please, Gérald, can you stop making new designs every 10 seconds? Can we just please make this one work? But she understood that wouldn't make him happy, so she never crossed that boundary. And I think that to Dad, Mom was kind of his muse. Firstly, she was beautiful, but secondly, she represented so much that he couldn't do. And they had this trust and loyalty towards each other, and the balance just worked.
But I mean, it was a very interesting time, because when did he open the business? What year?
1969.
It's a very interesting time in watches, because you just had the Caliber 89 from Patek Philippe. Mechanical watchmaking was beginning its great comeback. So how did he, because he did a lot of work for Cartier, he did the minute repeaters, didn't he, for the...
Yeah, he worked on the Pasha.
Yeah, but all the complications, he was the only man really, he was the go-to guy if you needed a complication at that time, wasn't
Yes, and he had an amazing team. He had Mr. Gollet as well, who was this incredible guy who sang opera, which gave him this great ear to be able to hear the sound of the minute repeaters, make sure they're perfect. And they were kind of like, I don't know, cowboys, like it was not very formal, their factories. It was just, they were trying to make magic happen with very little, and they succeeded.
But it wound up being a big concern, didn't it? I mean, it employed quite a lot of people at one time.
Dad?
Yeah, about many hundred people working for him. Yeah.
Oh, yes, at some point he ended up having a big operation, that's for sure. And it was a concern, because that's a lot of salaries to pay. So, yeah.
But also, I mean, I've heard wonderful stories from your mother about how she was trying to distract the attention of some royal person of a kingdom that we must not name. But what was the man adjusting something with us?
Yes, that was in the Middle East, and basically my parents went to sell a watch, an emerald watch, and there was a jeweler who was selling the matching necklace.
Yes.
With also a big emerald, and the emerald was falling. So Mom went up to this Middle Eastern prince to distract him, and meanwhile the jeweler gave the necklace to my dad, and he just took out his Swiss knife and just started just getting the emerald. And I don't know if you know, but emeralds are really fragile and they can break. And he managed to. He probably lasted just for the time of that meeting, right?
Yeah.
And then.
But this is what I like about this. I mean, you must have so many stories. But the Middle East it's always been there's been a special place, hasn't there, for your father in the Middle East?
Absolutely. In fact, they came here in Dubai to meet the Siddiqui family in 1981. Apparently, back then, there was only one hotel, which was the Sheraton. So it tells you about the evolution of Dubai. And he loved it, because the Siddiqui family spoke perfect French, so they could communicate very well. He designed a lot for them, a lot of one-of-a-kind watches with the UAE flag and with Arabian horses, etc. And this is a partnership. This is family.
Yeah. And what's it like being here? I know you love it. You've been here every year for Christmas, haven't you? Since.
Oh, being in Dubai?
Yeah, being in Dubai.
Oh, I'm living my best life in Dubai. I love this place.
You've come for Christmas for 23 years.
Yeah, we used to come here with Dad. He loved it, and we keep it going. I mean, this has been 20 years. We've been coming here in Dubai.
So they were a bit like patrons to an artist.
Yes.
And now it says here. What do we go back to the script here? How did he manage to stay free while working for the biggest names in the industry? I suppose it's just talent, wasn't it?
I think it's impossible for Dad to not be free. I think that for him, because his mind was so unpolluted. For example, when he was going to a fair, when he was exhibiting there, he would not walk around to look at what other brands are doing, just simply because he didn't care. He would rather just go outside or have a coffee or something. For him, he just kept his independent view. So, and for him, his own brand was art. Mm-hmm. So I'm wearing today this watch that I told you I
wish you could zoom in on this watch for those of you viewing at home.
This is a very rare watch. I'm sure he made very few of them. But he made it exactly at the same time as Van Cleef & Arpels design that he did. It's the 3 gold, and in the Van Cleef version, it's quite it's more traditional. It's brushed. It's a soft octagonal shape. So it's a bit more restrained. And when I look at this watch, I think this is the artist in him who thought this is really what I want to do.
That's a director's cut, if you like.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's a great thing. I mean, I've been eyeing it all week. It's a fantastic, and it's even got the Van Cleef type T lugs in it, hasn't it? It's a really, I mean, but it's fascinating. Just I could talk to you for an hour about that watch. I mean, what's it like having this massive array of material that you have of his? All these drawings and all these paintings and all these letters and everything. You've got an amazing archive, haven't you?
It's a nightmare to organize. To start with, I have so much. It's chaotic. He was an artist. He was not somebody who really thought how to, organize all his paperwork. But it's amazing. I mean, every time I do a deep dive in his archives, I read a new letter from him where he's complaining to a brand that he's working with that the quality does not really match his standards. Or, he would just come out also when I see new designs that nobody has ever seen. There's, famously, he designed what could be the Royal Oak today. And nobody has seen it. And I think for me it's just so nice because every time I go into these archives, I can kind of feel him. So
I get very sentimental about that. I cry. But I mean, what are his greatest things he's known for? What's the earliest would be the Polar Router, right?
Yes.
Then we would go to, he did some work at Omega, right?
Yes.
Then we probably go to, help me out here a bit.
Well, you would probably, so you said Omega, there would be Hamilton in there, there would be Seiko.
Seiko, they re-released it, the locomotive, wasn't it?
That's the locomotive, yeah, that they released about 2 years ago. And there would be, obviously, Audemars, Patek, IWC, Cartier, Van Cleef, so much. Fred. He worked so much with Fred.
Didn't he? I mean, was it too great?
They loved each other.
Yeah.
They really got along so well. I think Papy Fred was a true gentleman that they really understood each other, respected each other. And Papy Fred actually was one of the first big orders for Dad when he had started his manufacture. And with that, actually, he was then able to create his own brand. So we have a strong bond with that brand.
Fred is making a bit of a comeback, I think, as well. But not as much as a comeback. What's it like? What's it like suddenly finding that you're this young, tender age that you are, that you were the daughter of a celebrity in this amazing world?
So I grew up with a father with an ego, so he definitely wanted me to know that he was famous, or he really was making a true point that I must respect him, and I was in the presence of greatness. This was my teenager years, and again, teenager, a bit more rebellious, that doesn't quite work so well. So again, quite a bit of door slamming. But I feel so lucky. It's an emotional privilege to sit here, talk about him. It's also a privilege to talk to people who have stories to share about him that I don't know. And sometimes to be at a restaurant and seeing next to me somebody wear one of his designs. I mean, I'm just very lucky, and I love it.
You are very lucky, but you're also very good. So what were the favorites of his? I mean, can you sort of say a few words about which the favorites of his were?
His favorite watch?
Favorite watches, given that he hated watches.
I can't give you that answer. The answer is that his favorite was the watch that he would design tomorrow.
Okay.
So
that's a cop-out.
It's not a diplomatic answer, I promise you.
No, it's a cop-out, just a total cop-out.
It's not a cop-out. He preferred...
And don't tell me it's all done by the team as well. I mean, that's the
No, he really was somebody who designed something and never looked back. He didn't care. He wasn't somebody who then would open his folders and look back at his favorite designs. He really did not care. Of course, he was specifically fond of his own brand because, again, there was no brief. He was free. This was his own artistic vision. So I would say he was, of course, leaning more towards that. He was extremely proud of the success of the Royal Oak and the Nautilus, etc. But yes, for him, he didn't even wear a watch that much. He just wanted to design them.
And it brings me to the question, what is your favorite of his?
This I can answer.
Yes, I thought you might be able to. Give me five. Give me top five.
Top five, okay.
It's not difficult, you've got millions of drawings.
Oh, yes. Actually, I came prepared with only the one, but fine. I would say... well, firstly, I would just say my ultimate favorite is really the Golden Gold. Mm-hmm. And it's because it has all of the Gérald Genta codes.
Which are for those of us watching at home?
The octagon, especially when it's a perpetual calendar, it's that lapis lazuli moon phase with the gold moon. If it's skeleton, it's even better because the skeleton is always so thin and it's just so refined, and yet it's kind of like it's kind of an audacious design. So for me, the Golden Gold, and of course, I just like seeing his name on the dial. That's my. And
what's the one for the hunting?
The Jessica.
Yes, that was done for the Beretta family, wasn't it?
No, Geoffroy, Fissor, and my God, the name has left me for the
I don't remember what I had, where I am.
But yes, it was for hunters, and he just wanted to make this watch that would not reflect the light with boussole. And this is a beautiful piece of watch.
But I digress. Often I do. Get down to what's your second favorite watch?
Well, I love watches that nobody sees. This might be at the moment one of my favorite watches. I love thinking what was he actually thinking. I don't want to say which one is my second one because you're going to say it's a marketing thing.
No, not. No, not.
Look, I've always said it, and it might also be why that watch has been relaunched, but I love my mother's Oursin chronograph watch.
Well, you know how I feel about the Oursin.
I do.
I mean, I'm the former president of the GPHG jury, and it shows it's totally democratic because I really do not like the Oursin, and I've even had poor Louis von Westphalen rang me up. He was instructed by his elders and betters to ring me up and make him like that watch, which of course set me off on a different path. But what do you like about the Oursin? And I know it's not about marketing.
There's two things. Firstly, that Oursin, this is purely emotional.
Yes.
it reminds me, because there's so many versions of Gérald Genta. You have like the more refined, more traditional, and then you go on to more flamboyant and artistically expressive. And the Oursin, it's the dad that I knew. This is the Gérald Genta that had made it, that was driving a Ferrari in Monaco. So this is a joyful watch that, on top of it, his inspiration was from a holiday in Corsica together. So I also love that. And so there's that one aspect which is more emotional. The reason why I like the one today is just I like that they chose that design, because they could have gone for the golden gold. How predictable.
Yes, I mean,
would have been.
I'm very pedestrian in my thinking, so I would have thought maybe go
No,
something.
that's not what I meant. But I love that they went for something unexpected. It was not the predictable route. It was truly, you know, what Dad would have done today, not caring if people would like it or not like it. It was following your artistic vision and just going for it.
I mean, I think it's important to have people who dislike things. I mean, if it divides opinion, it's normally a good thing.
Yeah.
So number 3.
Oh my gosh, are we really going to...
I'm not letting it away. Number 3, what's your third favorite?
Well, I do love the Royal Oak. I think it's just such a powerful watch, and I love the success it's had. You know, this is obviously one of the ones that I see the most often, and that I just think if Dad knew that Jay-Z was wearing his design, you know,
he would say, "Take it off immediately. I don't
no
want it."
way. No, he was at home. He was listening. You would be surprised. He was listening to music like Snoop Dogg.
I know. Your mother told me. Yeah.
No. He had interesting music taste.
So he was way ahead of the late François Benamias.
Yes, maybe.
Yes, maybe 3 lifetimes earlier. But back to.
So okay, so fine. The Royal Oak.
Number 4.
Number 4. My mind's gone blank.
Should we say something about Mr. Hattori then? How did the locomotive come about?
The locomotive came about, obviously. Well, Dad has designed many watches for Seiko. It's just yet again an archive issue that is hard to define. But he designed that for them. Obviously, it was in the midst of the quartz crisis, really, that he started working with Japan. So he was, Japan was considered the enemy. Dad did not care. In fact, he was kind of always with Switzerland. It was a hot and cold relationship because he had been kicked out when he was a child. Yeah. And he liked to provoke. So he said, I don't care about this quartz crisis. I'm going to go off to Japan and help them with their design. And so that's when he did the locomotive. And he loved working with them. He always said the steel quality in Japan is really the best.
Interesting.
And so they had a great partnership.
Number 5. I could have given you 1 to 10, so count yourself lucky. Number 5. Number 5. Number 5. Gosh, I really don't know. Again, my mind's gone blank. Perhaps the Jeffica again. Yeah, the Jeffica is a great watch, isn't it?
A really strong watch with an amazing story.
Yeah.
How you turn something so functional into a piece of art again.
And the great thing, it wasn't what you have now as a sports watch or a big chunky thing, was it? It was a really elegant piece. Do you know the Jeffica? Anybody know the Jeffica here? You know the Jeffica, but I mean, there are these so many hidden corners of his visual world to investigate, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Jeffica is a true expression of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go on Chrono 24 now and buy them all up if you can, because but tell me a bit about growing up, and did you provide inspiration for him? Are there something? No.
No way, I wouldn't dare. No, nobody provided inspiration for him. I just had the pleasure to watch him design, and at the end of the day, when I came back from school, he would come to me with his designs. And the worst thing that you could say was that you preferred the one from yesterday. That's just definitely would be a terrible dinner conversation afterwards. But yes, he always came to ask for our opinion, which had to be positive. It's incredible. It's incredible,
but even better than yesterday.
Oh yes.
Oh, good. Well, you sound like you
can't
did the right
wait
thing.
for tomorrow's.
But these are brilliant. Yes.
Exactly.
But what is interesting now is, first of all, he's had this sort of renaissance posthumously. It's a shame that he didn't live a little longer to see everybody claim to have had watch designed by him. But what you're doing with your mother is quite interesting, because I mean you have busy lives. I mean she's an ambassador to here and to UK, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she's studying Egyptology for a doctorate or something?
Yeah, she's learning how to read hieroglyphs. I don't know why, but
it's a very useful thing to do. Yeah. She may time travel back to the ancient Egypt. Yep. But in the meantime, you're also, as a side hustle, you're running the Gérald Genta archive, aren't you? I mean, what do you, I mean, because he's famous, he's been ascribed to so many, he's been ascribed to so many designs that what is it that you keeping the truth, keeping the facts? You've got this big archive. How are you going to keep his legacy?
So there's two things. The first is making sure people understand the versatility of his work.
Yes.
So I really want people to look beyond the iconic designs that we all know, the Rolex, the Nautilus, etc. But just really understand. The other day with a journalist with Tim, we uncovered this Bulgari watch that he had designed that nobody knew that it was him. So this is work that I love to do. And then it's explaining who this man was, because nowadays we always talk about the Royal Oak and the Nautilus as investments, I mean, sometimes it does feel a little bit soulless. And actually, I want to remind people that at the root of these designs was this incredible artist. And I want people to understand how his thinking was, how singular it was. And finally, he also painted a lot. Yeah. And he considered himself a painter. So I would love, over time, perhaps a bigger challenge on my side, to get him to be recognized as a painter. I think he'd be really proud.
But I think it's fair to say that he saved Audemars Piguet's bacon, didn't he, in the 70s? Because they were just a manufacturing. I mean, they weren't a big manufacturer, were they? And then they had to add factory space during the quartz crisis to keep up with demand. It's quite amazing. So what do you think about the way that the shape has been stretched? You've got every horological complication almost in the Royal Oak shape. What would your father think about that?
Look, Dad was an artist, and he had an ego. So anything that is not his design, he would not love.
So the Royal Oak offshore was perhaps not the happiest moment for him.
I think perhaps not, and that's because you touched his. It's his design, it's his baby. So I think I understand that reaction. I think he would be impressed with the mechanical advances.
Yes.
What they've done recently
with the QP.
Yes, it's really impressive. I think he would be amazed, and he would love to see that in his design. I think he would be very proud of it. But of course, for him, watches had to be a specific size. It needed to fit under the sleeve. Yeah. It needed to be refined. He was all about elegance. So for him, the initial design of the Royal Oak was naturally his favorite, but it was his.
And what about looking around now? You see everybody claiming this. What does that feel like? See everybody claiming a bit of your father.
Look, it's great, because if people want to talk about my dad, it means that his name really means something. I understand that there's a commercial element to that, but if so many years after his work, people still feel like, okay, if I talk about Gérald Genta, I'll sell more watches, that's a compliment. On the other side, I think it has to be done in the right way, in an authentic way, because people can tell the difference. And this is what I love about working with the brands, so that I explain to them what his mindset was and what emotion was behind these pieces.
And so what are the most famous watches that you saw him design? They're putting you on the spot too much. Maybe we'll come back to that later.
Yes, you are, because to be honest, I was very young.
Yeah.
I was a 10-year-old, so I probably did not even know the name of these watches. And also, Dad did not name his watches. It's very rare, the Gold and Gold, Jessica. These are just exceptions. So I don't think I could answer.
And what do you think has given his work the longevity that it has? Because it looks so fresh now. This is almost one of the questions you know the answer to, I think. But they were. What accounts for longevity? What accounts for people actually still wanting to buy something that he designed over half a century ago?
Maybe because he was such a visionary, and because his designs balanced exactly a sense of boldness, but also refinement that makes it wearable. So it is a pure pleasure to wear these watches, because that could have been also a very provocative designer creating watches that you can't really wear. Well, that would not have aged very well.
No.
So I think is that he was always able to balance these two sides on top of, having his artistic vision. It always comes back to that.
And was it ever I think I can answer this question myself. Was it ever difficult to see his ideas rejected or not understood right away? Well, I think we know the answer to that. But are there some particular tantrums that you can remember?
Yes, I do. Okay, so in terms of rejecting designs, these were not necessarily tantrums. He didn't like it, but it didn't matter to him. He would never lose his confidence. For him, they will catch up, and just give them time. Of course, he didn't like the negative comments. What he didn't like was seeing his designs even tweaked.
No.
That led to tantrums. And I remember a famous brand poster in Monaco, and we were driving past that poster, and he saw that ad for this watch for the first time, and that was this is a core memory.
And what happened? What did he do?
It was a lot of shouting. We did not make it to school on time.
Extraordinary. I mean, it does sound extraordinary. And didn't he say once to some king of somewhere, he said, "Your Majesty, I cannot talk now. I'm admiring a Picasso," or something like that.
Yes. So this story was again in the Middle East, and there was a request for that Dad felt was tacky. He didn't like it. It was a very commercial one, which made my mom like it. But unfortunately, she didn't manage to influence him so much. And he walked away from this ludicrous idea and saw Picasso Époque Bleue. And he stopped talking. And the gentleman said, "What's happening, Mrs. Genta? What is he doing?" And Mom went up to him and she said, "Come now, we need to fulfill this order." Because remember, there were banks chasing to seize the fabric. I mean, this was not an easy ride. And Dad said, "Evelyn, leave me alone. There's only few times in life where you are graced with the privilege to watch such beauty." And Mom said, "If you don't come right now, I will divorce you." The order didn't happen. They didn't make it.
No, it's perfect. But it's a great story. I mean, tell me a bit more about your mother's effect on when the Gérald Genta brand was up and running and really strong.
Well, like I said, she was everything: the negotiator, the salesperson. She found out the biggest clients of the brand, which essentially really saved Gérald Genta. So that she did such an amazing job at that. And I think that what she was really able to do was to balance also Dad's, let's say, direct communication style.
What he means by saying "fuck off" is actually...
He was not rude like that.
All right.
He was still,
a gentleman.
He was still a gentleman, but he would still say what he was thinking, because to him it was obvious. And to say it was not an insult. It was just saying what he witnessed. Mom was spending her life apologizing. She was buying a lot of flowers, and this is what she did. And she managed to maintain these relationships over time. And unsurprisingly, she's a diplomat now because she had the toughest training.
And you, as well as the Gérald Genta heritage, you've touched on it briefly about working with the relaunch. It was, the brand slept for a while, didn't it?
Yeah.
Under Bulgari, it didn't. I mean, the bits and pieces were appropriated. But what was it like when you heard that it was being relaunched?
I was so happy that it was being relaunched, and so I was excited. And over time, I became more and more relieved and happy with the direction this is taking. I mean, now I'm really happy to be involved in the brand, firstly, we have Jean. And Jean is so passionate about watches. He knows watches. He understands Gérald Genta.
And he has the financial wherewithal to actually do something about it.
It's really the best position to be in. And then on the team, we have Michel and Enrico, who worked for Dad. I never had the pleasure to meet them. And then I finally meet these two men that when my mom saw them again for the first time after so many years, had tears in her eyes because they were on all these adventures together. And now I get to talk to them and they tell me stories about my dad that they know. And they have Gérald Genta in their blood too.
Yes.
They understand the idea of pushing boundaries, of making things happen when they seem impossible, making them happen fast. You know, this is not big corporation style. This is like, you know what, let's try, let's make it happen.
It's quite nimble as an organization, isn't it? I mean, it's surprising that you've got this great, you know, apex predator of a group, and then suddenly you find you've got this little oasis of sort of, shall we launch this or that? And
exactly.
And what do you like? What do you like most about the? What I mean, I'm not going to stop talking about the Ursin, but what do you hope? What's coming next? What are we going to see?
Well, we've launched the minute repeater, the Geneva. Now this is another side of that. That's what I was saying. Which side of Gérald Genta do we want to talk about? This was a little bit more traditional. The minute repeater is an impressive movement, and it also shows what Dad had true respect for, which was the cabinotier de Genève. For those who don't know, cabinotier de Genève are these people with such expertise, patience, they're obsessed with the excellence, and Dad always felt like there was joy in that process of making these watches. And this is a true homage to that side of Dad, where he was designing, but really with, at heart, the mechanical side.
I mean, because you say they're two very, very different watches.
Yeah.
But what, I mean, how many sides are there to the man? I mean...
But there's so many, 100,000 designs. I mean, there's
and some clocks as well.
And some clocks and some pocket watches.
And some erotic watches. He had a very.
I stumbled upon those a bit too young.
I think I might have been a bit more indication. I think it was always, if there wasn't a human face involved, it wasn't pornography. It was erotica, I think.
Look, I think he still managed to make it elegant somehow.
Well, I mean, he's genius. Was there a particular moment when you realized just how influential your father had been to the world of watches? Was there a moment? You wrote the questions. I mean, you should know what
I just there was an alarm and I sorry.
Okay, let me read it again. Let me read it again. Where is it?
When I realized.
Yes. No, hang on. Well, it's question 21. Was there a particular moment when you realized just how influential your father had been to the world of watches? Was there a moment? A Damascene moment?
No, but the way we touched on that for me, it's really the presence of seeing watches on people's wrists. That's really when I started realizing. And now I just want to, as much as I realize how important he was, I just want to make sure it's done in the right way.
And what lessons from your father's career do you think today's watch brands could learn?
To stop looking at other brands. I'm saying what he would say. Stop looking at other brands. Trust in your own artistic vision. Take a risk. Don't think so much about the commercial aspect. I know it's hard, but you know, if it's not about making watches bigger and then smaller, and you know, it's about having what's your point of view in the industry, you know?
And did his point of view shift over time, or was it constant?
It's so interesting when you put his drawings next to his paintings, because there's a true correlation. You can see at the beginning, his paintings are very gray. They are industrial Geneva. You know, he's not having the best time. Over time, he moves to Monaco. He discovers the blue sky. His paintings become with more vibrant colors, and later on, he finds success, and this is like complete abstract. It was the same thing with his watches. You can see the evolution from these traditional designs all the way to these flamboyant and the uses of precious stones, and you can see more colors. And
there's a real joy in those pieces,
there's
isn't
real
there?
joy.
And what would you think of the industry today, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't answer on what I think about the industry, but I think people would be more interested about what Dad would say.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking.
Yes.
I know you don't want to be a woman who gives opinions yourself.
Well, I think what he would be really impressed with the mechanical advances,
Yeah.
for sure. I think he would still say he probably would wish that there would be fewer copycats, so fewer brands that look so similar to each other. And also, he wouldn't really understand watches that are so out there and not wearable, so just so provocative to be provocative, because that's not what he was about.
No, he was about making something that worked. But what interests me so much about him is that he was an artist and a designer, and was he a good parent? I mean, I want to know what living with a genius is like. I mean, my family knows very well what it's like, but tell it from, I want to know from your point of view what it was like, because you've got this man who's this artist, this it's more than a designer, really. It was the whole world.
He was a true artist,
Yes.
and his personality, his temper. He was a very nice dad, but I can't say that he was the most involved dad. He didn't know when, I don't know, I would have swimming, or that was not what he was into. Mom really was the one that was raising the children and doing all that on top of running the business. I think he was just really playful. So he had this child at heart that he just wanted to have a good time. But really what he just really loved Mom more than his kids, I would say. Mom was really, when I say his muse, she was really everything to him.
I hope we're still watching, Evelyn.
Yeah, I'm sure she's moved by this.
Where do you think the brand can go now? Because it was founded at a very different time, and it's been in the deep freeze for quite a while. Yeah. So where do you think it goes now in today's watch world?
I think it will go in a space that will be. It's a brand that will always offer something that is different. Because that's what, and that is creative, but not for the sake of being creative. And I can see this brand evolving in a brand that has this singular view, and that always honors the artistic legacy of the founder.
And what will that look like? Will there be chronographs, or will there be what direction will it go in? Because it's a very different industry now, isn't it?
Well, I cannot reveal what will happen.
Yes, you can.
But it's easy to guess. I mean, we are looking at what Dad did, so you can imagine it's versatility. They're respecting that. Yes, it's true. They did not make the commercial decision to have two collections that have exactly the same design codes. The Oursin and the Geneva are different.
I mean, you're almost making me
watches.
understand the Oursin now. Maybe Louis Westphal should have.
No.
You're almost making me like it.
But you should like it.
I don't know about that. but it is. You're happy, basically.
I'm really happy. But the fact that they want to work with us, they don't have to. The fact that they want to work with us, the fact that they work with Enrico and Michel, that shows that they deeply care about the founder. So I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's very good. I think there now are there questions. Auro, do you have a question? Question.
Yeah. Myself and you're very great.
Yes, King Midas.
Did your father design the
Yes, he
King
did.
Midas? Yes.
Yes, he did.
Really?
That I know because he talked about
It's
it.
confirmed.
It's confirmed.
Again.
I do not have the design, so what I can confirm is that he talked about it. So it's always very difficult when I'm asked this question. Usually I will say either if he mentioned the design or if I have the design. In this case, he mentioned it.
But he mentioned
But
it
what
as a
did he
product.
do with the design is... I
Because
don't know.
Rolex had this amazing marketing guy, Jeanneret. Do you remember Jeanneret?
Yeah.
And he would have seen something like that because it very early. It was 1960. It was launched. I mean, it was
61.
61. I mean, but so that means that it was still in Wilsdorf's day. Wilsdorf had died in 1960, and February 1960, I think. So this would have been going on, in proper deep Rolex, you know, Le Rolex Profond, or whatever you call it. So how does that, I mean, I'd just like to know more about that. Because the Midas is so far out. I mean, it looks like a 70s watch.
Yep.
And it was designed, presumably, in the end of the 50s or something like that.
I'm really sorry, I don't know the full story behind this watch, but I just know that he mentioned it as the, I believe, only Rolex that he designed.
It's the only Rolex. It's one of the best ones, I think. Question?
Alexia, I asked this question at the risk of being blocked from purchasing a Patek Philippe, me and all my descendants. But what would your father think of the Cubitus if he saw it today?
Putting you on the spot.
He loved his own designs.
Where's the camera? Theory, don't block me, Theory. Yes.
No, but I don't think it's fine.
He wouldn't notice because he wouldn't look at other people's work.
It's just for him. He just trusted in his own designs. To him, the Nautilus was perfectly balanced. Perhaps to somebody else, the Cubitus is perfectly balanced. To him, his design should live as just that. So that's what he would say.
Okay, that's very interesting. And I have half another question to ask you. I believe your father also worked on the oyster quartz, correct? He was part of the team that designed the oyster quartz, wasn't he?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right. That's what I wanted to know.
But I don't have much more to say about that.
I'm sure Aura and Nicholas would...
Aura knows everything. He's probably...
I have an encyclopedia next to me right here. Thank you.
Any more questions? Well, I think we have a minute for a quick survey. What does that mean? We've got our instructions here.
I don't know. A quick survey.
Yeah, well, anyway, I think that means so any more questions? Very good. Oh, yes, there's someone down the back there. Someone down the back. Ming Liu in the cut-off denim.
Hi there. Hi. I love the presentation. Thank you. I just wanted to ask, because your father was so prolific and so creative, is there anything that you think that he wished he didn't? Sorry, is there anything that he was still left to do that he wished that he still had done? Is there any?
I'm sure, because he was designing until his last day. He kept on designing for Patek. He was still working for Van Cleef. You know, he was designing every day. So I'm sure. But because he didn't plan his designs, it's not like he would dream of making a specific watch, because designs to him just came pouring out of him. So it's not like he had this ambition to make a watch that was in his head for 10 years. It was more, he could have kept on designing every day.
And what was the last watch he designed?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think it was for Van Cleef.
Okay. No, I mean, not obviously the last one that he drew. I mean, would it be?
I think it was for Van Cleef.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
But I will let you know.
Okay. Brilliant.
I need to check.
No, it's a very, but you, it's all to go. Anyway, thank you very much. You've been very, very polite.
Thank you. Thank you.